Good morning and welcome to our time of morning prayer and meditation as we prepare for the week ahead of us. I know many of us have been consumed by the news of protests and peace marches, and our minds and souls are swirling with a myriad of emotions. So I thought we would spend our time together this week, both this morning and on Friday evening, contemplating the voices that cry out and the ways in which we respond. This morning, we'll begin with words from the great Maya Angelou from her book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. But first, I invite you to hear these words from Matthew 24. This is where Jesus is talking about the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he says, "Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away." Now, you'll understand why I chose that passage in a moment. So let's turn to the night when the young Ms. Angelou was attending a nice revival meeting. She says these words: "The cloth tent had been set on the flatlands in the middle of a field near the railroad tracks. The earth was carpeted with a silky layer of dried grass and cotton stalks. Collapsible chairs were poked into the still soft ground, and a large wooden cross was hung from the center beam at the rear of the tent. Electric lights had been strung from behind the pulpit to the entrance flap and continued outside on poles made of rough 2x4s. Approached in the dark, the swaying bulbs looked lonely and purposeless, not as if they were there to provide light or anything meaningful, and the tent, that blurry, bright, three-dimensional A, was so foreign to the cotton field that it might just get up and fly away before my eyes." It all sounds so very poetic, doesn't it? But listen to her words as she describes what happens as they walk home after the service. "When the collection was taken up and the last hymn given to the praise of God, the evangelist asked that everyone in his presence rededicate his soul to God and his life work to charity. Then we were dismissed. Outside and on the way home, the people played in their magic as children poke in mud pies, reluctant to tell themselves that the game was over. The Lord touched him tonight, didn't he? Surely did. Touched him with a mighty fire. Bless the Lord, I'm glad I'm saved. That's the truth. It makes a whole lot of difference. I wish them people I works for could have heard that sermon. They don't know what they's letting themselves in for. Bible say, he who can hear, let him hear. He who can't, shame on him. They basked in the righteousness of the poor and the exclusiveness of the downtrodden. Let the white folks have their money and power and segregation and sarcasm and big houses and schools and lawns like carpets and books, and mostly let them have their whiteness. It was better to be meek and lowly, spat upon and abused for this little time, than to spend eternity frying in the fires of hell." No one would have admitted that the Christian and charitable people were happy to think of their oppressors turning forever on the devil's spit over the flames of fire and brimstone. But that was what the Bible said, and it didn't make mistakes. Ain't it said somewhere in there that before one word of this changes, heaven and earth shall fall away? Folks going to get what they deserved. When the main crowd of worshipers reached the short bridge spanning the pond, the ragged sound of honky-tonk music assailed them. A barrel house blues was being shouted over the stamping of feet on a wooden floor. Miss Grace, the good time woman, had her usual Saturday night customers. The big white house blazed with lights and noise. The people inside had forsaken their own distress for a little while. Passing near the din, the godly people dropped their heads and conversation ceased. Reality began its tedious crawl back into their reasoning. After all, they were hungry and needy and despised and dispossessed, and sinners the world over were in the driver's seat. How long, merciful Father? How long? A stranger to the music could not have made a distinction between the songs sung a few minutes before and those being danced to in the gay house by the railroad tracks. All asked the same questions. How long, O God? How long? This morning we ask the same question. How long, O God? And we must pause to ask that question of one another. How long will we allow it to go on? And I invite you to breathe. Just breathe. Breathe in solace for your own soul. And breathe out the pain that binds you and torments you. Breathe in spirit, that she might lead you to be a balm for those around you who are wounded. And breathe out whatever it might be that keeps you from reaching out with the love of God. Breathe in that spirit of love, that she might carry you through these days to come. And may your week be blessed. Bye-bye.